Very good morning, students. Hope all of you are staying safe indoors. Well, in the last class we were discussing about this chapter, weavers, iron smelters and factory owners. And in the last class we have discussed who were weavers, how they were specialized in weaving and how the decline of Indian textiles took place, because what happened, these Britishers, they were able to imitate Indian working, but at the same time weaving, handloom weaving, it was not able to be imitated by them. So that created a market in India and that continued. And we also saw that how the British Indians, those who were not engaged in the textile, they got unemployment and they were engaged in other activities. Okay, we have also seen about the sword of Tipu Sultan, how his sword was made of a special kind of steel, that is called wood steel, and that was made of what? Carbon. Okay, now we will see what happened in the villages, what happened about the furnaces. What are called furnaces? The smelting where the iron got smelted. Okay, that is called furnaces. So abandoned furnaces in villages, what happened we will see today. Okay, so the production of wood steel required a highly specialized technique. Okay, and but this local common people of India, they were not able to do it. And in Bihar and central India, particularly, every district had smelters that used local deposits of ore to produce iron, which was widely used for the manufacture of implement and tools of daily use. These furnaces were most often built of clay and sun-dried bricks. Okay, so the smelting was done by men while women worked the bellows. What are called bellows? A device or equipment that can pump air, which is required in the smelting technique. Okay, pumping air that kept the charcoal burning. You see in TV or in previous times, you must have seen there is a it is like a pipe. Okay. It is like a pipe, and that pipe is used to blow the air. Okay, so that was the work of the women. By the late 19th century, however, the craft of iron smelting was declined and most villages furnaces fell into disguise. Okay, it was no more used. But why this type of thing happened? Might be one reason was the new forest laws that which we have read in chapter 4, that in chapter that is tribal Dikush. Okay, the forest law we have read. No, in that what happened, they used to, according to that law, no people could take any things from the forest. Okay, so when the colonial government prevented people from entering the forest, what happened? The iron smelting which required in the wood charcoal could not be, the people, they were not able to get it. So defying forest laws was also not possible for them, because Britishers, they tried to punish them. Okay, but they could not sustain their occupation on this basis for long, and they were able to give up their craft work. In some areas, the government did grant access to the government, but the iron smelters had to pay a very high tax, for which it was not possible. Though in some places the government allowed, but at the same time they had to give high tax. So it was not possible for the smelters to give that tax, and they were not able to do the smelting work. Okay, this inevitably lowered the demand of iron produced by the local smelters. Okay, these were basically the reasons why there were decline in the local smelters. By the early 20th century, the artisans producing iron and steel faced a new competition. Now we see iron and steel factories come up in India. How iron and steel factories were able to come up in India? The year was 1904. In the hot month of April, Charles Weld, okay, an American geologist, and Dorabji Tata, okay, who was the creator of Tata Groups, okay, the eldest son of Jamshedji Tata, was travelling in Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore deposits. So they were searching some land for iron ore deposits. Now what happened? They had spent many months on a costly venture looking for sources of good iron ore. And what happened? this Jamshedji Tata, he had decided to spend a large part of his fortune means wealth, okay. He decided to spend a large part of his wealth to build a big iron and steel industry in India, for which he was searching for land. But this could not be done without identifying the source of fine quality iron ore. But at the same time, he wanted fine quality of iron ore and he was searching for it. So one day, after traveling for many hours in the forest, Weld and Dorabji came up in a small village and found a group of men and people carrying baskets of iron ore. Okay, these people who are called Agaris. Okay, when asked where they had found the iron ore, the Agaris pointed to a hill in the distance. Weld and Dorabji reached the hill after an exhaustion trekking. After hours of trekking, they were able to reach there. Okay. And the hills, the name was Rajhara Hills, had one of the finest ores in the world. And after reaching the hills, that is Rajhara Hills, they were able to get the finest ores. Okay. But again there was a problem. The region was dry and water necessary for running the factory, because nearby there were no water and they wanted water for running the factory. So the Tata had to continue the search for a more suitable place to set up their factory. However, the Agaris helped in the discovery of the source of iron ore that could later supply the Bhilai steel of plant. But initially, these Agaris, they helped to show the iron ore deposits, and later it helped them for the creation of the Bhilai steel plant. A few years later, a larger area of forest was cleared on the bank of river Subarnarekha to set up the factory, and an industrial township called Jamshedpur was built there. Here there was water near iron ore deposits. The Tata Iron and Steel Company, that's otherwise known as TISCO, came up, began producing steel in 1912. So in the year 1912, TISCO was brought up, and there they were able to get the iron ore deposits along with water. Okay. TISCO was set up at an opportune time. Okay. All through the late 19th century, India was importing steel that was manufactured in Britain. But with the creation of this TISCO, now no more they need to import steel, rather they got it from their own motherland. Okay. For a long while, British experts in the Indian Railways were unwilling to believe that good quality steel could be produced in India. But Britishers, they were not believing that good quality steel could be produced in India. Okay, so by the time TISCO was set up, the situation was changing. In 1914, the First World War broke out. Steel produced in Britain now had to meet the demands of war in Europe. So the steel which was produced in Europe, that has to be made by that has to be used in the war. So they were not able to import. So they were not able to import steel. These Indians, they were not able to import steel, because whatever steel they produced, that was used in the war. Okay. So import of steel, British steel into India was not possible, and that became the hour when the Indian steel came to market. Okay. As the war had dragged on for several years, TISCO had to produce shells and carriages wheels for the war. By 1919, the colonial government was buying 90% of the steel manufactured by TISCO. Over time, TISCO became the biggest steel industry within the British Empire. In the case of iron and steel, as in the case of cotton textiles, industrial expansion occurred only when British import into India declined and the market for Indian industrial goods increased. So only when the import of iron and steel and cotton, it was declined, then only the Indian industry developed. Okay, this happened during the First World War, and after, as the nationalist movement developed and the industry class became stronger, the demand for government protection also became strong. The government also started to give protection to the factories. Okay. So struggling to retain its control over India, the British government had to concede many of these demands in the last decades of colonial rule. But in order to have control over India, the Britishers, they wanted to control. They want to concede different laws so that they can keep control on India. Okay, so students, with this we have come to the end of the chapter. Go through the chapter thoroughly. If you have any doubt, we can discuss it in our online class. and I will be sharing with you the question answers to write it in your copy. Have a nice day. Thank you.